In a world where extreme competition exists everywhere, what does it take to have success in your career and in life? Join me, Nirvana Chaudhary, as I sit down with some of the most successful individuals to discover the secrets to their success, what continues to drive them, and to hear a few exclusive stories in the process. What drives them and their success code, their mantra for making it bigger. Hello everyone, this is Nirvana Chaudhary back with my Making It Bigger podcast. Today I have with me India's first and only individual Olympics gold medalist. He achieved this feat in the 10-meter air rifle event in Beijing in 2008. Abhinav Bindra, who says sports is much more than competition that happens. The real power of sport lies in what it can do to a community, what it can do to change a person's life, the values that it teaches you. The biggest learning from sport is that it teaches you to accept failures. I have with me Abhinav Bindra. Thank you so much, Abhinav, for coming on my podcast.
Thank you for having me.
So, Abhinav, the first question I always ask my friends are, one of the youngest and the first Olympic gold medalist in India. What is your success mantra? What is it that really drives you?
Well, my success at the Olympic stage came after years and years of perseverance. I think I was a person throughout my whole sporting career that, I was in quite a lonely sort of a sport because shooting is lonely. But throughout my entire journey, I had one constant companion, and my constant companion was self-doubt. I always struggled to have belief. And after a while, I just gave up chasing this whole self-belief story. And I've started really chasing self-respect. And that self-respect really came from the fact that I would put in the best that I can every single day. I wanted to be better than what I was yesterday. The Olympics, of course, come once in 4 years, but for me as an athlete, they came every single day. It was about trying to be the best that I could be. It was about being critical and brutally honest with myself. I think I was my biggest critic. And it was about looking myself into the mirror every evening after training and asking myself the question, have I done it my best to prepare for the Olympics or to prepare for a competition? And through that journey, I suddenly started to have my self-respect. My triumph in Beijing is often talked about. So I'll tell you about Beijing. Just before I boarded my flight to Beijing, I looked myself into the mirror and I asked myself the question, have I done everything I humanly possibly could do to prepare for this event? And the answer was yes. And, even before I shot my first shot at that Olympic competition 13 summers ago, I was already a winner. I was a winner in my own eyes. And that to me was the most important thing. I think that really shines more than any gold medal can shine. And that really was my whole journey, to really continuously try to chase my own self-respect. And that was my only mantra. I was not talented. I don't think I had any real talent. I was not athletic. I was chicken-hearted. I already told you I was anxious all the time. I was not competitive. I did not have good balance. I had terrible eyes. But I think I had one talent, and that was to work hard and persevere. And that is what I just tried to do for 20 long years.
Well, that's amazing, Abhinav. I think you're being too modest when you say you had no talent. But I'm absolutely, hard work, perseverance. And I was reading this some other day that again, it was a podcast which I was listening to of another Olympic gold medalist who was saying that, yes, the end winning that gold medal is fine, but that journey has to be so much more important, right? And like you correctly said, I completely echo your sentiments. But tell me, once Olympic comes once every 4 years, then how do you keep pushing your boundary? How do you keep sort of raising the bar for yourself?
I think it is about fighting it out with your own self. You're your biggest competitor. It is about chasing excellence. And, there is no finish line to greatness. I think you have to keep trying to get better. Yes, the goal remained the same, was to achieve Olympic glory for 20 odd years, but on how I had to achieve it continuously changed. I lived in a changing environment where my sport continuously evolved, training methodologies continued to evolve, but more importantly, I as a human being kept evolving. My mind kept evolving. I was a different person when I competed at my first games in 2000, and I was a completely different person when I competed at my last in 2016. So it was just about finding that desire, finding that motivation from within it. You have to be intrinsically motivated if you have to achieve excellence at the highest stage. If you do not have, nobody can put it into you. I don't think anybody can help you get that intrinsic drive and that intrinsic motivation. You have to have a little bit of desperation to succeed. And the definition of success can, of course, be different for everybody. But having that desperation to just try to be the best version of your own self, I think is very, very critical in order to achieve excellence or in order to achieve success.
So, Abhinav, especially in the corporate world, we always talk about succession planning or creating an environment where we develop new entrepreneurs, etc. And India, 2008 versus India where it is today has had a paradigm shift, right? I mean, you're seeing more and more participants in Olympics and much more and more hope. But how do you see the evolution or the importance of the sports as a priority and sports infrastructure in India, or let's say in our part of the world? It's pretty much the same.
Yeah, I think, of course, sport is developing in India, but I think the whole of our region, has a very young population. I think specifically India, half our population below the age of 30. So there's far more consumption of sport. I think there's far more participation in sport. And just because we are a young society, sport is slowly but surely becoming a priority even for governments to invest money in, invest in investment. They put investment into infrastructure and things like that. But I think the one point all countries around like India and yours, this region is missing, is really to leverage on the power of sport to shape societies. When you have such young societies, I think we need to instill values into them. We need to put them on the right track to get their focus right. And I can tell you that there is no better way than sport to get you there. You don't all need to win gold medals at the Olympics or even compete at the Olympics, but you need to participate in sport just for the sheer joy of playing sport. Because the values that sport brings are absolutely invaluable. Sport teaches you how to win, but more importantly, sport teaches you how to lose. It teaches you how to have a goal. It teaches you honesty. It teaches you integrity. It teaches you how to follow the rules. I think as human beings, the first thing a kid ever encounters in following rules is playing a game or playing sport. And so very important to instill those values into young societies. I think just having goals, chasing those goals, having that perseverance, having the ability to listen. I think attention spans in younger people are getting lesser and lesser, and we find it very challenging for them to listen. But sport has a unique ability to make sure that you listen and listen to also other points of view, conflicting points of view at times, but with a spirit of friendship and with a spirit of respect. And I think these are invaluable lessons that society can imbibe through sport. So I think when we have more numbers just participating in sport, I think excellence in sport will become a byproduct. So I think we need to look at sport for the power it has to do good to society. And when that starts to happen, I think success in the region will continuously improve. We're all consumed by becoming economic superpowers. But if you really look at the great economies of the world, they also happen to be sporting superpowers. That has not just happened by accident.
No, it's so well said. I remember reading somewhere that BMW, right? The only newspaper that's available for people to read is the sports section. And because all sports talks about is winning, all sports talks about is development, all sports talks about is non-controversial things, more or less. So I absolutely agree the mindset you need to have. Abhinav, one thing I'm extremely proud, and especially of what you're doing, and I tell a lot of my friends, especially in our generation, is giving back, making a difference. What is happening through the Abhinav Bindra Foundation?
We work on three pillars. We have three pillars in the foundation. The first is intervention, where we've set out several high-performance centers across the country, which are open to all sporting disciplines. It's not specific to shooting, but where we bring in sports science and sports medicine into athlete training. We give out scholarships to very young athletes between the age of 11 to 15, called the STEAM Scholarship Program, STEAM standing for Science, Technology, Engineering, Analytics and Medicine, and try and incorporate all those elements into grassroots level training, because I do believe there's enough support at the elite level in sport in India, but that support needs to really infiltrate down to the grassroots. And achieving success, Olympic success and world level success requires a scientific approach to training right from start, right from the foundation. So that is our intervention pillar. The second pillar is education. So it's not just about empowering athletes, but it is also about creating the ecosystem that surrounds the athlete. So far in our history, we've been reliant on importing knowledge and getting foreign expertise into the country, or hiring foreign coaches, foreign physios, etc., which is great, but not sustainable. I think it's also very important and critical that we empower our own coaches, produce our own world-class physios, world-class trainers with knowledge at global best practice levels. So we set up a Sports Science and Research Institute, where we are giving out bachelor's and master's degrees in sports science and physiotherapy to start with, but that will continuously evolve and we will add more courses. The second element of education is leadership in sport. Governance in sport is also critical to sporting performance, and governance in our part of the world, in our sports bodies, is something which has often been talked about for probably the wrong reasons. But we have to do something about it. We also have to empower our administrators. So along with the University of Loughborough, which is regarded as the best sports university in the world, we set up a program for leadership in sport, which empowers administrators so that the day-to-day functioning of sport, day-to-day functioning of sporting bodies also incorporates global best practice and governance into their daily functioning. Third element of of education is athlete mental health. Again, a very stigmatized topic around the world, in society in general, but it's more so in sport. Doing a lot of work there for advocacy and also trying to set psychologically safe environments for athletes to work and play in. The last element of our work is using the power of sport for societal good. There, our first program was an international program where, alongside three-time Olympic champion, a former rival and now good friend, Niccolò Campriani from Italy, from my same sport, we were both really taken in by the refugee cause. We were inspired by the international refugee team, which took part at the Olympics in Rio. And we set out a program of several refugees, trying to select them in Lausanne in Switzerland. That's where Niccolò is based. And we picked 3 of them to make it, to train them in our chosen sport of shooting, because that's where our expertise lay, and try and get them to Tokyo. I'm very happy to tell you that 2 of them are competing in Tokyo, one as part of the refugee team, and one representing Afghanistan, because he is still an asylum seeker and his status is not one of the refugees yet. So a great victory for that project, because we've used power of sport to change people's lives, to define their lives from where they were. They were very sad and depressed and had gone through so much in life, and they found their refuge in life through sport. So also doing several other projects in the value education segment to spread values of sport in young society. So that is a little bit of an overview of the work that we do. It is fulfilling, it is hard, but enjoyable and challenging. And I spend 50% of my time doing this.
This is like music to my ears. It's. I'm so proud of you, Abhinav. You're doing phenomenal work, and in our own little ways, my dream was also that one of the ways youth development can happen is through sports, and exactly so similar to what you're doing. I'm going to pick your brains on that probably on a separate call. But thank you so much, Abhinav, and congratulations again for all the work you're doing. Thank you so much for taking time out for this podcast. It's greatly benefited me, I'm sure it's gonna, all the people will be listening to this will benefit them to the large extent. So thank you so much, Abhinav, for taking out time.
Thank you.